This podcast is brought to you by SDBullion.com. I've known the guys since 2011. I trust them, and so should you. New customers can get physical metal at spot by visiting SDBullion.com/spot. Hello again from TF Metals Report, and here are your podcast highlights for the week of October 14th through the 18th, 2024. When we wrapped up last week, we felt like we were sitting on a pretty good week ahead. All the charts looked promising. Silver in particular, the GDX specifically, had pulled back to its 50-day moving average again and looked poised to be moving higher. If you missed last week, check it out. It's right here on YouTube. It's on all of your different podcast platforms. And if you're not a subscriber to any of those platforms, make sure you do, so you don't miss out on weeks like last week, where things turned out pretty well for us. As the week began back on Monday the 14th, we doubled back to that chart of the GDX, noted that it was turning higher, a lot of green candles, and with earnings season right around the corner, that probably meant we were in for a good week. We sure were. And on Monday the 14th, that was all part of the discussion. And then finally, no red candle here. Again, we turned all the way back around in the GDX to finish at 40.14, up 9 cents. I think it was actually a little better than that. Didn't I say that just a second ago? I think it might have been a little higher than 40.14. Yeah, 40.17, up 12 cents after being down at the open and as much as 1% down. Most of the majors turned around and got higher. AEM closed up 38 cents. That's 0.5%, almost back to 80. Newmont was up 1%. Seabridge, Kinross, Alamos, all up. I just bought myself some of that Lundin gold last week, and it's been going. It went up today too. So anyway, had a very, really constructive day in the mining shares. And that, again, that has no bearing on what's going to happen in the metals tomorrow. I just point out the fact that, again, I kept reading on the internet on Friday afternoon, oh no, there's no reason to be bullish about next week because the shares didn't follow through today, as if what happened Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week didn't matter. It was only, what mattered on Friday when they were up, but only up, 20 cents. Anyway, good day today. Good day today. What we want to see the GDX do is move up and get above 40.50 on a close. That's 1% higher from here. We're going to start getting into some more results this week. That ought to help. We'll see. Getting the metals up would help for sure. And obviously, the metals are our primary focus at TF Metals Report. But there are times we got to be looking at the mining shares. A lot of folks at the site own the mining shares. I own the mining shares. So I know we just talked about GDX on Monday as part of our chart review. Well, here it is again on Tuesday. Sequential higher high. It happened 3 times already. We were expecting it to happen a 4th time. And that was the reminder given to everyone on Tuesday, October 15th. How many times last week did we talk about this? This period in June where GDX was flirting around and below its 50-day. Got back above in early July, and a couple weeks later made a new high up above 39. Comes back down in early August. 4 or 5 days flirting around with his 50-day. Gets back above there, makes a new high up around 40. Comes back down in early September. Flirts around for 4 or 5 days with the 50-day. Gets above there, makes a new high up near 42. Again, that closing high, September 26, 41.64. Flirts around with the 50-day last week, and now charging forward again. Why would we not, knowing all the earnings reports are coming, say, well, yeah, sure looks to me the last couple of highs been 37, 39, 40, 42, 43, 44? That would seem a logical target over the next couple of weeks. That's something that you can trade. Once a week at TFMR, we try to have a public podcast with a guest, someone who can share their own insights and their own observations and experience, help everybody learn something and maybe figure out a little bit about the markets. This week's guest was Michael Leibowitz. Michael is at realinvestmentadvice.com. Very smart guy, very astute observer of the economy. So it's great to get his thoughts. Again, Michael Leibowitz, realinvestmentadvice.com. You can find this thread on the TF Metals Report homepage. It's a totally free thread. I encourage you to give it a listen. Here's just a little bit of what Michael had to share with us.
Our economy, from individuals to corporations to the U.S. government in particular, is very heavily indebted. So the yield curve is really a good proxy for lending incentives, and therefore a very valuable tool to follow, even if you're just a stock investor. And like you said, it's the inversion is the initial warning. So when the 10-year yield goes below the 2-year yield, but the true warning tends to be a 6-month to 9-month kind of advanced warning is when the 2-year goes back below the 10-year yield, which it did about a month ago, a few weeks ago.
On our daily podcast of Thursday, October 17th, we had a lot to discuss as we got ready to wrap up the week. But at the end of the podcast, we discussed a specific mining company that I own, Kinross. I've been a holder of Kinross ever since they acquired Great Bear, which was one I made a lot of fiat in, thanks to the prompting of Brent Cook at Exploration Insights back in the day. Anyway, Kinross looks to be breaking out above $10 a share, which would put it at 12-year highs. That's noteworthy, all part of what we discussed on October 17th. And then finally, I thought I'd show you Kinross. I own Kinross. I own a nice amount of it. Why? Because they bought Great Bear, and Great Bear was always fantastic. I loved owning it. But look at Kinross. Okay, the first chart is just the year so far, or the last 12 months, with the 50-day. And again, same pattern. Comes down, taps the 50-day, makes new high, makes new high, makes new high. But the important thing here, at 10, I printed this 1017, actually closed 1015. That is not only higher than it closed back in September at any time. This is the highest daily close in Kinross since October the 8th of 2012. I'll repeat that. This is the highest daily close in Kinross in over 12 years. Think that's important? Yeah, it is. And look at the monthly chart of Kinross. That's the last one on here. Getting a toehold above 10. If it can hold it here and finish the week north of 10, finish the month in 2 weeks north of 10, what does that show you? Oh, okay, it's going to 11. Yeah, okay. But look at all those candles back there, 18, 20, 22 back in the day. A lot of open field running if it can hold above 10. And again, highest daily close in over 12 years. And on Friday, October the 18th, we are having one heck of a day in the COMEX metals. Gold is up substantially, looking to close well north of 2,700 on the week, up big on the week, and looking to move higher next week. But the big winner today and this week is silver. If you listened to last week's podcast summary, we discussed not only silver, but also the GDX and how both looked like they were poised to move substantially higher this week. Stuck my neck out and said, looks like silver's sitting on a big green candle for next week. Took a while to develop, but it sure did. We are now up 6% on the week. The spot price moved up through 32 and then 33. In fact, as I record this late Friday, the front month December futures are actually approaching 34. So we'll see what happens next week. As you can see on this chart, it's a very positive chart. Anytime you can not only break out, but finish a week above the previous intra-week high. And that's exactly what silver is doing. In fact, silver is at 12-year highs. But anytime you can break out and close above the previous intra-week high that we saw a couple of weeks ago, that's usually a very bullish sign. So we'll see what happens next week. I invite you to join us at TF Metals Report. We talk about this every day. It's only $15 a month. You want to stay ahead of things, like as we stayed ahead of the GDX and stayed ahead of silver last week. You want to stay ahead? Come join us. Join us just for a month. If you don't like it, you can quit. But for $15, I think it's a pretty good deal. Check us out, tfmetalsreport.com. Have a great weekend, everyone.